Usually, the process of wrapping comes first, before the unwrapping process. Both processes are done almost by using the same techniques. However, you should only use the expression unwrapping when the map size is known. In other words, when you assign a material to the 3D object and start unwrapping it to that material. Unwrapping is the final stage of the texturing process. This process usually comes after baking textures or maps required for the game engine. There are so many ways to obtain textures for 3D objects. However, in this tutorial, we are going to focus on generating our own from 3D objects. Keep in mind, most of the game's textures are either captured, designed, or drew by professional artists. Especially when environmental assets and characters are involved. Before adding the Unwrap UVW modifier, and to make sure that all the selected objects are at the object level, add Edit Poly modifier to the selection, then collapse the stack. Add Unwrap UVW modifier to the selection. Open the UVW's editor, select all UVs. Then project them on a planar projection on the x-axis. Normalize map is enabled by default in the modifier settings. Unless you know exactly what you are doing, disable normalize map. We are going to return back to that in a moment. In order to save the texture 2D space, we are going to use the overlapping UVs clusters technique. This technique will help us bake very high textures in relatively smaller map scale. We will not create textures for the selected UVs. Also, they will not be exposed all the time to environmental factors such as dirt. So, it's better to scale them down, then relocate them at the corner. We are interested in the side UVs of the rim. These UVs can be broke into 5 identical chunks, theoretically speaking. Our design is diagonally symmetric, and we tested it many times. Unfortunately, these UVs clusters are not identical. This is one of the frustration moments that you will face, generally speaking, when doing things by the book, and you have no clue why the unexpected is happening. We could overcome this deformation by using the Align tool to align these UVs. You can find me using this method in old related video. Still, I do consider this as a daunting technique, and this is not a good way to spend our time. I do not have all the answers, nor I pretend so. However, if you pay some attention to the modeling technique that I have used in the previous videos, you might notice the heavily usage of the Scale tool instead of using the Cut tool. Although I am confident that my design is diagonally symmetric, the normalized map cannot produce diagonally symmetric projection of the UVs due to the heavily usage of the Scale tool during the designing stage. Disable Normalize Map from the modifier settings. Maximize the scale of the projected UVs until they match the map dimensions. Now, let's arrange these UVs for the projection modifier. For that, we do not need any overlapped UVs. Keep the UVs that will be used in the texture projection inside the checker box, and move those that will not be used outside the box. Any UVs outside the checker box will not be used by the projection modifier. Of course, we need to utilize every pixel we can by maximizing the scale of the UV map to cover more areas on the map. There are plenty of space for different brands, which will add more diversity to the rim. Finally, you may want to render a UV map template for the texture editing process. Our work here is now complete. Collapse the Unwrap UVW modifier. In this part, we will create a high resolution level of the rim, which will be utilized to bake the required maps. Enjoy the rest of the video, and we shall continue in the next one.